I'm Mark Callahan, Mr. Saltwater Tank, and this is Mr. Saltwater Tank TV. One of the things that I like to do when I go on the road is to go visit other people's tanks and see how they do things. And last week, you saw me visit the 1.6 million gallon Shark Reef at Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, Nevada. Well, this week, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to go visit one of the nicest private tanks that I've ever seen. This tank is actually in someone's house. It's not an office building, it's not a public aquarium. This guy has this sitting right in his living room. And it's one of the most well thought out, well designed, and one of the prettiest tanks that I've ever seen. Dave, you built this tank. I don't know where to begin. Tell me about it.
Well, this is a customer of ours, has been a long-term customer, and previous tank he had a 150-gallon aquarium, and then finally decided to take the plunge and turn over a one-car garage space for the filtration and do his dream tank. We have an 850-gallon main display. It's 10 feet wide, 4 feet front to back, and 34 inches tall. And
4 feet front to back.
4 feet front to back.
That's as long as my whole tank.
He wanted something deep. His only regret was not going 6 feet front to back.
Sure.
He later said. And it's a new tank. We've had corals in it now about 5 months since we added the first ones.
Dave, this is like a monster build. I mean, where do you even begin to plan and design a tank like this?
A lot of drawings. This is the first thing. You know, we knew flow is important, so we wanted to do really big drains. So 2 big 4-inch lines makes it really hard for them to clog. Just wanted to be able to put a lot of water volume through the system. Redundancy is something throughout the system. We have 2 chillers, 2 return pumps, 2 closed loop pumps, a lot of different redundancy features to make sure if one fails, we have backup so that we don't lose the whole tank,
So what happens when the power goes down?
Generator.
Okay, you have 2 of those?
No, one of those.
And he's probably got a direct line with the California Power Authority. They come right out and fix them.
Hopefully.
I couldn't believe what was in front of my eyes. This tank was in someone's private house. Now Dave said it took him over 100 hours just to build the system. That's actual build time, not including planning. Now what do you do when it's time to fill a 2,400 gallon tank? Well, you truck in water straight from the ocean. And that's exactly what Dave did. By this point, I couldn't wait to dig in and see all the details on this tank.
Well, Mark, this is the lighting we have. We actually rigged it up to an aluminum trellis. We have Lumen Bright reflectors with 400-watt metal halides powered by Sunlight Supply Galaxy ballast, and then some Geisman 39-watt by 4 T5 fixtures.
Dave, I don't see any LEDs on this tank. Tell me about that.
Well, right now, we decided to just go with halides and T5s, which are tried and true. LED is something we might do down the road for moonlights or accent lighting, but still to this point, we're getting the best growth on the SPS coral with metal halides.
Now, what's that little box over there I see with the green button? Is that the OS, oh crap, everything's going wrong button?
No, that's actually, that allows us to open up raise the canopy up and down. You can have a switch and you can, for instance, press this and all of the lights in the aquarium are going to raise up. Accessibility is something that's really important with any aquarium. We actually have the ability to climb behind the tank and have about 18 inches of space there so we can work from it from the front or the back, which makes it even better.
Did he really just say that? I can easily get behind the tank? I had to try it out myself because I've certainly never crawled underneath a fish tank. Sure enough, he wasn't lying. I could get behind the tank and do any work that needed to be done.
Here we are behind the aquarium. We have Ocean's Motion unit with the 4 outlets. It can alternate the flow from 2 opposing outlets at a time. See, we have easy access to the aquarium. You can actually sit right up here to work on it, reach down to mount frags or corals or do maintenance. When we aquascape the tank, we didn't have all the cabinetry in place, so it was easy to basically get in the tank and pass rocks and set everything up. But the main key to this is having some space behind the aquarium where you can work and deal with it from either side. Accessibility is really key in any aquarium.
Okay, mark crawling underneath the fish tank off my bucket list. Now the owner converted one part of his garage just for the filtration of this mammoth tank. And while we were on our way out to the garage, I had to ask, how do you do a water change on a 2,400 gallon tank?
All right, so here we have the saltwater mixing bin. This is where we make salt water. It can hold 400 gallons, so we can mix 400 at a time. And We have a pump over there that'll agitate the salt and then can actually pump it into the system when we're ready to do that. Walk you through the system a little bit. We have a sink area so we can acclimate fish, cleaning and maintenance of filter pads, filter material. We have a SpectraPure RO unit here connected to a reservoir. This reservoir allows us to make say 10 to 15 gallons at a time, which makes the membranes last longer. I'll show you over here on this side. We actually have an acrylic box to hold our Profilux dosing and computer control units. This allows us to dose calcium, alkaline, and magnesium, along with some coral foods to the system automatically, and we can adjust the dosage based on what the system needs. Next piece of equipment we have, protein skimmer. We have two Deltec protein skimmers here. They both have the self-cleaning heads. There's a water line pump to it, so we'll actually flow water in to rinse the cup, and it has a brush on the inside that will swirl to clean the skimmer automatically. You can actually go almost 3 or 4 months without having to clean the skimmer cups manually. Nice for a big system like this, especially if you travel. Over here we have a caulk stir, and this will use water from the top off, put it through the caulk stir to mix with kalkwasser. This helps to maintain proper calcium alkalinity levels as well.
Dave, you showed us everything that's upstairs, and what I did know is that it's actually sitting on top of this big box, which is the sump. Take me through this thing piece by piece, because this obviously isn't a 55-gallon tank that you've converted into a sump.
What we have here is a sump measuring 96 inches long by 36 inches wide and 30 inches tall. Runs at a level of around 15 inches, which means there's about 225 gallons of water here in the sump. We start off, I have a drain down chamber. So the 4-inch drain enters here, and actually by putting the water down there in a closed section, it forces the air bubbles to rise and pop off the surface there, meaning you're getting less bubbles in the system. Okay. From there, the water flows over some filter socks. It has 6 of them in this main filter sock compartment and drains down into the rest of the sump. We have a separator bar here, so if the socks were to clog and not flow, the water would actually just rise over instead of flooding out. Okay. We have another set of socks here to catch the water coming out of the protein skimmers. This again is helping to reduce bubbles out of the system. The water then moves under this divider and to the skimmer intake pumps. These pumps draw water that is exiting the biopellet reactor.
This is coming straight from the biopellets, so they get that dirty, bacteria-laden water clear straight from here into the skimmer.
Exactly. And then moving down the sump, we have a double set of weirs to, again, help get bubbles out of the water, and a couple of intake lines, intake screens for the 2 return pumps.
Dave knows sump design, that's for sure, but he wasn't done yet. Next, I scoped out the refugium, the meaty reactors, including biopellet reactors and a carbon reactor, the lines to the 2 chillers that were located outside like they should be, and finally, 240 watts of UV sterilizer tubes. But where did all that water go once it passed through those sterilizers?
All right, here we have 2 600-gallon bins. Water from the system is pumped through these slowly. This adds another 1,200 gallons to the total system volume, bringing it to about 2,400 gallons total. This is again just to maintain stability from all the water parameters as well as temperature. Helps to keep everything stable and growing well.
This is obviously a big quarantine system for a big tank. Walk me through it.
Okay. Here we have some cubicles so we can have separate areas to hold fish so they don't fight as much. Just lit basically with LEDs. We don't need super bright lighting. And this gives it a place to hold fish. This system is separate from the main display, has its own sump and skimmer down below.
What's total volume just of the quarantine system?
Well, we have a total volume between the tank and the sump of about 120 gallons for the fish quarantine system.
Just the fish quarantine is 120?
Fish quarantine alone is 120 gallons. Yeah. And basically, we'll hold them here for 4 to 6 weeks before we introduce them to the main display, make sure that they're disease-free, eating well, and healthy. If we notice a fish is sick, it's a lot easier to catch it and deal with it if we have to do a dip or something in a quarantine. In the main display, you don't stand a chance.
Not gonna happen. Dave, fish are great. A lot of the reef guys out there live to see corals. Walk me through the coral quarantine part of this system.
Well, a coral quarantine system basically gives us a chance to hold corals before we want to put them in display. We can observe them, make sure they don't have any parasites, bite marks, or anything that we don't want to introduce into the main display. Once we get them here, we start to see they've acclimated well to the water. they're growing healthy, coloring nicely. Then we move them into the main display and mount them in there. This basically gives us a place to observe them before we do that.
How long are they in here?
They stay in here anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks usually.
Dave, the system is a dream come true. I mean, it's beautiful. Everything has been well thought out. It's custom made. It's clean. Very impressed by your handiwork.
Thank you.
You've been in this for how many years?
Started as a hobby about 12 years ago, and we opened Vivid Aquariums 6.5 years ago. Yeah.
How long do you think it really took you to get to the point where you felt comfortable even attempting a build like this?
Probably about five years,
Yeah.
4 or 5 years, to do a system like this. And now we've done a few, and I'm very comfortable doing them now.
Until the earthquake comes.
Yeah. Well, at least a wide tank is a little harder to flip than a narrow one.
I gotta admit, am I jealous of that tank? Absolutely. Would I love to have that thing sitting in my living room so I could take in it and all its beauty anytime I wanted? Yeah, absolutely. And then when I looked at the detail work and how well Dave thought out the whole build, I'm very impressed. That tank was top notch. So I hope that gives you an idea of how to set up a saltwater tank the right way. Until next time, I'm Mark Callahan, Mr. Saltwater Tank. This has been Mr. Saltwater Tank TV. Have a good one, enjoy your tanks, and know your tank personality.